Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Full Timeout with COVID-19, brought to you by the WRNU Sports Department. I'm Brendan Deviney, joined alongside Billy Beebe and Willa Brienza in their respective homes. As today we will feature the 2020 RSM NFL mock drafts. Guys, how's it been going within what week are we in? Like the fourth week of quarantine or something like that?
I'm good. Just finding different things to do every day, and I think the draft is going to be what holds me over, just entertainment-wise. As more and more stuff kind of fails that the NBA and other people are trying to do, especially I think the NBA really tried to jump on it, but yeah, I think there's still a lot of stuff to consume my time. I don't have a job, and I don't necessarily need one yet, so just trying to do whatever to pass the time. I know Will's working, so.
Yeah, I'm working still it's usually 30, 40 hours a week, but when you have this much free time on your hands, it doesn't seem like that much. When you're a full-time student, you're going to class, you're like, man, 30 hours a week, that's a lot. But when it's this online school and you're at work for 6 hours a day, that 18 hours really feels like a long time.
Buffalo Wild Wings, there's still a lot of takeout down there?
Oh, yeah, we're doing curbside pickup. No one's allowed in the building, but we're really successful on boneless Thursdays. We get hit pretty hard on that day, and then the rest of the days are pretty steady. I wouldn't say like extremely busy, but we're definitely getting good business, and it's worth it to stay open.
Yeah, well, it's definitely becoming a little normal now, given that we're in like the third week of this thing. Finding their daily routines and still keeping up on sports here, though, as we will touch on a little baseball and basketball here before we get into the NFL mock drafts. A huge story coming out of USA Today just the other day, as baseball is continuously trying to find a way to salvage their season here and get back on track, is that they are talking about having they already touched about having the season in Arizona, the entire season starting in the middle of May or something like that. But Arizona and Florida, just at the spring training sites. But what they're talking about is doing away with the American League and National League and going with the Grapefruit League and Cactus League and going into these new divisions. And Will, you saw this. The Indians would be in the same division as the Reds, White Sox, Dodgers, and Angels. And there's just completely new divisions that there's a lot of potentially more exciting divisional races. What are your thoughts on this? Like, could this work and be interesting to watch?
It would work in the sense that games will be played and the season will not be canceled. But on the business side, this is tough because there most likely isn't going to be fans allowed. And if there is, it's only in Florida and Arizona, so you wouldn't get to reach all the fans for teams that aren't in that city. As far as you talked about the divisions, honestly, I'm not a big fan of what I see. Some of them seem loaded, and then some of them seem weak. I mean, you have the Grapefruit North, which is Tigers, Pirates, Blue Jays, Phillies, and the Yankees. I mean, that just seems like a cupcake division for the Yankees to run away with. But then you have, like you said, the Cactus League Northeast, where it's the Cactus League West, where it's the Dodgers, Angels, Indians, Reds, White Sox, Red Sox and White Sox and Reds, two teams on the rise. You have the Angels and Dodgers, who Dodgers are always just powerhouses. Angels add a big piece in Rendon, and then the Indians. I mean, it just seems like a loaded division where they're just going to beat up on each other. So I don't know how it'll work in that sense that some divisions seem loaded and then some seem like it's an easy runaway for a certain team. But if they are going to go with,
don't you get that in regular divisional play though?
In a sense, I mean, I was looking at the divisions going into this year. I'm like, you had the Yankees, Rays, Red Sox, decent division. You had the Indians, Twins, White Sox battling out. You had the Astros, Angels, Athletics, and even Rangers battling out. And the National League, all the divisions, I mean, Brewers, Cubs, Cardinals, you're going to see a good run there. Even the Reds on the rise. The NL West is kind of a runaway with the Dodgers, but the Padres are on the rise. And NL East, you have the Nationals, Mets, and Braves battling out. But with this, it seems like they took those top 3 teams and put them all in the same divisions, and 2 are loaded, and the other 4 are kind of weak.
One division that would be in the Cactus League, the Brewers, Padres, Mariners, Rangers, and Royals. I mean, I guess the Brewers would be the favorite in that, but again, there's a lot of average sub 500 teams that, I mean, the Rangers could potentially get into the playoffs there, something that they haven't done in a long time, in at least 5 years, I feel like. The one division that could be fun to watch is the Nationals, Astros, Mets, Cardinals, and Marlins. Forget the Marlins, but the other 4 teams, the defending World Series champions and the Astros, that would be a heck of a division to watch.
Yeah, but with that division, Washington, I think they were a team of destiny, in my opinion. I mean, they have a great pitching staff, don't get me wrong. When your top 3 is Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin, you're doing something right when you're building a team. But, I mean, just the bats, I don't know if they can be that consistent. You have Juan Soto, he's going to be consistent. Trey Turner. After that, you lost Rendon. Yan Gomes is your starting catcher. We saw in Cleveland. He may not be the most consistent batter at times. Ryan Zimmerman's aging. Howie Kendrick's aging. I don't see them being what they were last year. And then Houston, after this whole scandal, where do they sit? I honestly see them like, I'm not saying they're going to be like a 60 and 100 or 62 and 100 team, 62 and 100 team, but they're going to be. I see them dropping off. I could see them losing only 88 games.
For both of you, that is the one thing that is hurting the most for me with no sports and the baseball season being postponed. The Astros season, every ballpark that they go to, getting booed horrendously by those opposing fans. I could not have waited until they got to New York and Cleveland.
I was going to wait in Cleveland. 4th of July weekend, I was going to be
even in spring training when they would go to away ballparks to spring training, they were getting booed already, and that was just amazing to watch.
So, Brendan, last night I was looking at these divisions. If they did the same playoff format, I mean, Grapefruit North, I see the Yankees running away with it. Grapefruit East, I see the Mets winning that one just because the Mets, I mean, their pitching staff, they have 6 starters they're deep, and their bats are young and on the rise. And like I said, I see Houston and Washington falling off, so I went with the Mets. The South, I see Atlanta, Minnesota, and Tampa Bay. So both wild card teams coming from that division. And the same for the Cactus League. I see the Cubs winning the Northeast. I see the Brewers winning the Northwest. And in the West, you have Dodgers, Angels, maybe Indians. You have both wild card teams coming from that division again. And that's just why I'm not a fan of – like, I'm a fan where I see what you're trying to do. You don't want to cancel the season, but – just there will be no fans, and the realignment's not the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, they could do something different with the realignment. But I don't know if you want to do like what the NBA does and just go Eastern Conference, Western Conference, just cactus, grapefruit.
You could,
do the top 8 teams from.
I wouldn't go 8, but like keep it the same. Keep top 5, the top 3, the first round bids, and the bottom 2, the 4 and 5 seeds playing the wild card, something like that.
That could probably work.
But then again, you're probably getting those same teams I just named. Maybe not. I mean, Oakland.
But who knows? I just saw a report from Jeff Passan from ESPN today saying that it's Arizona or bust for Major League Baseball this year. So who knows if that's going to happen at all. Which would be really heartbreaking to see. There's no baseball this year, but again, it's all about safety at this point from where we're at. But just found that really interesting to see how baseball is just trying to still play this year. I heard that they probably won't make a decision until the middle of May, so we got a while to go to see if there will be a season. Guys, that brings us into the main focus tonight. The NFL draft is just over a week away. Next Thursday, from everyone's homes, not Las Vegas, we will see who the top 32 picks are in the NFL draft, with round 1 being next Friday. And we will do a mock draft here for round 1. And Billy, you're our draft guru. What is your outlook on this year's draft?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple positions that are very loaded, that no matter what happens, the team is going to come away with a quality player. Luckily for the Browns, that does mean left tackle. So say the Browns get a player they can't pass up at 10 that's not a tackle, which I think is either Derek Brown or Isaiah Simmons. They take one of those guys. There's plenty of options for them going down the line to either wait to the second round or trade back into the first. I do have some questions, guys, as to how early some players are going to go. I've heard different stories on certain players. Obviously, my focus is on the Browns, right? Yep. So I keep an eye on certain players just when Cleveland can look to take them. But then you hear different things. Hey, this guy's a first rounder. This guy's a third rounder. I don't know about this guy. Things like that. And that is what worries me about the Browns. I have certain guys I want them to get, but I can't gauge right now where some players are on the list. I mean, if you really want to name examples, Grant Delpit out of LSU, the safety. I've heard a lot of ideas where he's a late first rounder, mid first rounder. And I've heard some things where the Browns can chill out and wait in the second round and take him. Patrick Queen out of LSU also. It is going to be a Tiger draft, by the way. You're going to see a lot of Tigers go in the first 3 rounds, rightfully so, the national champs. Patrick Queen would be the absolute plug-and-play linebacker that would make me feel so much better about the Browns' locker room, linebacker-wise. But I have no idea if Patrick Queen is I've heard third rounder, I've heard first rounder, and I think, guys, that's where I get really kind of confused as to what the Browns want to do, because there are needs that they need to fill. There's certain players that I can't get a gauge right now on how high they're going to go. Delpit and Queen are really good examples of that, I think. And then there are some other options that I'd like them to take a look at. Staying with LSU, I like Thaddeus Moss a lot from LSU, Randy Moss's son. But I've heard 5th rounder, I've heard 1st rounder. So again, guys, I think it's going to be really interesting to see where it goes. But thankfully, the Browns have a lot of options. So if fans see them do something bold, hang tight, give them a chance. It means they did their scouting.
Yeah, I have a tradeless first round in front of me.
Yeah,
that we could go through, obviously, and with being a mock draft. But I can answer a couple of your questions already. Delpit is not in my first round. Patrick Queen is, if that helps at all, Bill.
Yeah. So, and then a lot of the mocks I've listened to, Queen is a first rounder, and then other ones they said the Browns can wait till the 3rd round to take Patrick Queen. So that's pretty crazy. Yeah. And then it is worth noting, guys. I believe it's 4 teams have multiple first round picks. Yeah, the Vikings, the Dolphins, the Niners, and the Raiders all have at least 2 first round picks. The Dolphins have 3. So, I mean, there's a couple teams with a ton of options to either
Vikings
move
have
up
a couple,
or just clean up in that first round. I can't imagine the Dolphins come away losers on day 1.
No, there's no way. When you have 3 picks and you're in such a situation where rebuild is a must, they definitely, and with one of them being a 5th pick, I mean, they definitely have an opportunity to build significantly on a team that wasn't that great this year.
And Billy,
go ahead, Brennan. Sorry.
Yeah, obviously mock drafts are tradeless, but what teams do you see maybe trading up or trading down in the first round?
Yes, so the Dolphins are one of them. Obviously, they'll go up or down with the idea that, hey, they have multiple first-round picks. They're expected to take Tua, right? That's the rumor. But obviously, there's concerns there. So are they in love with Tua? We don't know. We got to see. And then I think it's also going to play in, guys, how that top 10 goes will play into the rest of it. Yeah. I think you'll see a team like maybe Detroit. So Detroit could say, all right, we want Jeff Okudah. That's our guy. That's who we're mocked to get. But if we dodge Jeff Okudah and don't take him right away, how far can we drop before we're getting the same pick, right? So the Dolphins currently or the Lions, I'm sorry, sit at 3. So you'd think the Giants probably wouldn't take Okudah, Miami probably wouldn't take Okudah, and the Chargers probably wouldn't. So Detroit can try and organize a trade and drop 3 spots and get the same guy. Those are the kind of trades you got to look for. And then, I mean, there's just teams that don't have first-round picks that need to eye at getting back in.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, right now the Rams don't have anything, but I don't think they're going to really push themselves to get in to the first round. They kind of made their bed getting Jalen Ramsey. Philly is a team that I think can't sit back at 21. They have to move up. They have to get a playmaker, and I think they're so enticed to get one of these receivers. So my opinion, would not be surprising to see Philadelphia move up to 11, 12, or 13. And I think San Francisco's really happy with the idea of getting as many guys as they can get. Not necessarily they already have 2 first-round picks, but if Philly can give them a first and a second to move up, they'll do it.
Yeah. So do we want to start this then?
Let's get into it. Let's get into the 2020 NFL mock draft. And Cincinnati sitting pretty at number 1, first pick in the 2020 draft. Are we unanimous on the fact that they will be taking quarterback Joe Burrow out of LSU?
Yeah, I know. Even if the Dolphins offered everything they could, which would be 3 first-rounders, a first-rounder next year, and maybe a second-rounder for him, Cincinnati's not run like other organizations. I heard Peter Schrager talk about it on the Bill Simmons podcast. Cincinnati has like half the scouts of every other team. Mike Brown runs that organization. They're a small organization. They don't trade out of their first-round picks. You look at history, the John Ross pick a couple years ago was the perfect pick to trade out of. They don't do it. It's not what they do, guys. They hold on to their picks. They got a hometown kid. I know they could get a big haul for this guy, but it's just not in their nature to trade out of it. It's not in their nature to get greedy. I think they've made a lot of good free agency moves. I think it's Joe Burrow, and I'm ready to see that whole story come full circle.
I'm in agreement. I mean, you have Andy Dalton at quarterback. 10 seasons of just mediocrity. I mean,
losing in the playoffs.
I mean, every time you do make a run, he can't finish, and it's just to the point where you're like, now we got to move on. We have a guy who just took the whole college football season by storm and arguably had one of the greatest seasons in college football history, topped it off with a national championship. And I mean, I honestly think it'd be a huge mistake for them not. I mean, their top need is a quarterback, and the fact that they have the opportunity to draft Joe Burrow first overall, it's something you can't pass up.
And a heck of a division it would be then, guys.
Yeah.
With Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow, and probably Ben Roethlisberger one more season, that AFC North would be a stacked division at the quarterback level.
Yeah, it'd be a fun division to watch.
Let's go to pick number 2. The Redskins on the clock. They need some help on that line. Bill, who do you have the Redskins taking?
Yeah, so guys, I do think this would be the first opportunity to sell a trade. So the Redskins could sell the idea that they're taking Tua to either Miami or the Chargers. If the Chargers really like Tua, this is their first chance to move up and get him, either this or the Lions. So I think there is a chance for a trade here, but I like Chase Young to go here. I would say Chase Young's going to be taken second overall. It's another guy where it's like you don't want to be the team that passed on Chase Young when it was a softball lob to you. And if you guys get time, go through the Redskins defense, man. They have been building that thing for a couple years. Deron Payne, they added Reuben Foster at linebacker. They have a couple good linemen still. I know I'm missing one guy. Oh, Jonathan Allen out of Alabama. So they just have a whole set. You add Chase Young to that. That's the finisher to a defense that'll carry you. So Chase Young's the easy pick.
I agree with you, Bill. I went through and did a top 5 team needs for each team as well. And I wouldn't say defensive end is their top need, but it is a need. Like you said, you have 2 defensive tackles in Allen and Payne right there. added a lot. You added Sweat in the first round last year out of Texas A&M or Mississippi State. And now, I mean, Chase Young, yeah, he kind of fell off the scene there a little bit at the end of the season, got shut down there by Wisconsin, had a little altercation where he missed a game and a half. But that semifinals game against Clemson, he may not have recorded a sack, but the amount of times he put pressure on Lawrence and forced something that they did not want, you got to watch every play in depth. And he's a solid pass rusher, the second best player in this draft. And I think, again, the Redskins would be a huge mistake for them not to take Chase Young here.
See, well, I think Chase Young is the best player in this draft. You saw him at Ohio State, just a complete monster on that edge, and he was one of the reasons why. I think he was the main reason why Ohio State blew out all the teams that they did. Just a real special talent, and he's going to be huge for Washington to help build in that NFC division. And I think that Washington could easily take a quarterback here, but they've made that mistake before. And I think taking Chase Young here is the easiest decision that they'll have all draft.
I think you keep rolling with Haskins if you're the Redskins. He was the best pro-style quarterback in that draft last year, and just to give up on him in 1 year is why I say go defensive end here. Again, like you said, Chase Young, the talent. When a defensive player is in the top 5 for Heisman voting all season long, he's special.
Yeah, for sure. He'll do huge things for Washington, and that brings us to the team up north in Detroit at pick number 3. They need help in that secondary on the defense. And Bill, who you got?
So the Lions lost Darius Slay. They had to end up trading him due to an in-house dispute. Matt Patricia is a defensive coach. You can't not have a secondary in the NFL. If people pass on you, they pass on you hard. It is Jeff Okudah. He's the best corner Ohio State's put out in the last 10 years, which is crazy to think about, guys. And that'll be very exciting. Again, I just want to add, this is another part in the draft to watch, right? So could Detroit trade with Miami, LA, maybe even Carolina or Jacksonville to move back if they think they could get Okudah in the same spot if they move back and get a second or third rounder? That's an option, but Jeff Okudah is going 3rd overall.
Again, I agree. I think these first 3 picks are a pretty safe bet on most mock drafts. Their top needs are corner and defensive line, in my opinion, and to pass up on Jeff Okudah after Chase Young got taken, you really don't want to. You're reaching if you go Brown or Kinlaw here at 3 to help your defensive line, but to get Okudah at 3, you wouldn't be reaching.
Guys,
that is a good point, Will. I want to add that it's easy in this draft to reach, to get entertained with a guy. You haven't had workouts. You haven't had interviews. It's easy to think, man, I really like what I saw from – I think Kinlaw is going to be a guy that somebody could take either like early at 11, 12 and then really regret it later. But same with like if Detroit really got entertained and they really like Derek Brown, it's easy to reach right now. And that's a huge mistake. A lot of this top 10 is really laid out for these teams. They really don't have to risk too much to get somebody.
And guys, 3 straight Buckeyes going in the NFL draft, at least 2 all former Buckeyes at one point in their careers, with Joe Burrow transferring to LSU for his last season. But yeah, I think we're all in agreement. This is the easiest top 3 picks, most predictable, at least, in the draft, which leads us to number 4 in the Giants, New York. They need help in many areas, but Billy, who's on your radar for the Giants?
All right, guys. So I think it's crazy how badly this defense has broken down over the past couple of years. Think about that team that went to the playoffs with Odell. You still had Jason Pierre-Paul. You had Janoris Jenkins. You had Landon Collins, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. You had just a really fun team. I think Damon Harrison was on that team, maybe on the D-line. Olivier Vernon was on that team. That's a really good defense. That whole defense is gone. Only notable player in my opinion, on that defense that I even know is Jabril Peppers, and I think he's just solid. So if Billy Beebe's making the pick, Isaiah Simmons is going to the Giants. However, it's tough to say that Dave Gettleman, who's just an old school football guy that believes you win games on the D-line, O-line, he's going to take an offensive tackle, and it's tough to differentiate right now. Giants are already paying a lot of money to Nate Solder on left tackle, so I think that eliminates Andrew Thomas and Mekhi Becton. And then Wharfs and I'm missing somebody else I know, but on the O-line, Wharfs could play guard or tackle, but Jedrick Wills from Alabama played right tackle for 3 years. He's regarded as the best tackle in the draft. The Giants don't have to make him switch sides. He's the best offensive tackle. He's going 4 to the Giants.
Again, Bill, right now 4 picks. We're the same. I'm going Jedrick Wills. I look at their top 3 needs: offensive tackle, defensive end, safety. Safety is kind of a stretch even. You have Jabril Peppers, Julian Love, a young up-and-coming guy. They added James Bradbury. A lot of people forget about that in the secondary. But they have Blake Martinez and Lorenzo Carter, which is why I don't go Isaiah Simmons. And then Dexter Lawrence. Again, Simmons is the only guy right here, I agree with you, that you could reach on. Again, I think Brown and Kinlaw are still a reach at 4, and that's why I say they help that right tackle spot in Jedrick Wills. But due to the fact that they have Blake Martinez and Lorenzo Carter is why I say they go Jedrick Wills, the best tackle in the draft.
See, I've got Isaiah Simmons going from Clemson, different than either of you. I think he showed a lot in the combine and had a phenomenal last season with the Tigers. I mean, you saw that Clemson defense won the majority of their games. I know you got Trevor Lawrence there, and he was phenomenal for the Tigers, but Isaiah Simmons was a huge help as a linebacker for them, and I think Wirtz or you guys went with Wills, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Wills or Simmons.
Let me ask you a question about Simmons. I personally don't like the storyline of moving him to safety. What do you think about that? I think he's just a middle linebacker.
I think he stays at linebacker. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I know,
so I think a lot of people will talk about that. I don't like that storyline at all.
And I don't think Gettleman will want that either. I think you're drafting him for a linebacker, and I know the Giants are doing crazy things. We don't know what they're doing at some points, but I don't think you want to move him at all. Which leads us to pick number 5, and this is where that Tua name comes up in a lot of mock drafts with the Dolphins, and Billy is Alabama's kid going here.
Yeah, I think you have to. I just think it's really similar to the NBA draft where the Knicks were supposed to go first overall before the season started, and they were supposed to get R.J. Barrett at number 1, right? That was supposed to happen. They got R.J. Barrett at number 3. Kind of how it goes. And for the Dolphins, a year ago, guys, probably would have said the Dolphins or Bengals get Tua at number 1. Don't overthink it. Figure out the health issues later. I know they're there, but Tua is your best shot. I'm not sold on Herbert at all. And there's not anybody else that I would just be like, oh, the Dolphins need this so bad they can pass on Tua. Take Tua. I mean, you're clearly comfortable enough playing Rosen or Fitzpatrick if Tua is not fully ready to rock. I think you have to go Tua here.
All right, Bill. It was a good run. We no longer agree.
No Tua here.
Wow.
I don't like the injury he had. I say he falls out. He's not 5. I go Justin Herbert out of Oregon. Pro-style quarterback, completes 70% of his passes. Won a big game against Wisconsin. May not have been his best game, but he still played a big role in winning that 28-27 Rose Bowl. And I say Miami, they're hurting. Rosen's not your guy. Rosen is not anybody's guy.
No.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, I mean, what's he, 72? So you got to go Herbert here. You have to. He's ready to play, and he's a pro-style quarterback. And I think him and Brian Flores, I like the youth that Miami has, and I think Herbert will mesh with a coach like Brian Flores.
See, I think Miami is the type of organization that isn't going to look very hard at the injuries of Tua. I think they're in a position where they're kind of desperate right now, trying to find whoever their quarterback is, and that's why they're going to take Tua, proven national champion, and despite his injuries and not him being on the field a lot last year, from a small sample size, he has stuff to make himself an NFL quarterback. And you're right, Will. A lot of key pieces on the Dolphins offense that can help him a lot. And I think that's why Miami is going to take him. And which leads to the next pick and a team that needs a quarterback in the Los Angeles Chargers at pick number 6.
I'm going to shock you guys here at number 6. The Chargers are going to take Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson in my mock draft to finish off what, again, is a really, really good defense. If you put Simmons, Bosa, they add Chris Harris. They have Hayward on the outside. They have Jason Verrett, I believe, at corner still. They have Derwin James. I mean, that is a crazy good defense, and they just don't seem like they're in love with Herbert. They don't seem like they're in love with Tua. They haven't talked quarterback. I know that's what they're picked to do, but man, Simmons is still there. You don't want to let him go much farther. I think Isaiah Simmons is going to the Chargers, and that is a defense to worry about.
Bill? The Chargers' top 3 picks, or top 3 needs: quarterback, offensive tackle, linebacker. You didn't shock me. I have Isaiah Simmons as well. I mean, you look at, like Brendan said, he really performed well at the combine. Justin Herbert gets taken 5th overall. The Chargers aren't sold on Tua's injury, in my opinion, and they don't want, like you said, Simmons to slide. You have an opportunity to take Simmons at 6, a guy that was talked about going 3rd or 4th, and your quarterback that you want's not there. So this is the no-brainer. You go Isaiah Simmons to add to that potent defense.
Guys, I've got them taking Herbert here. But
and that's not far off, Brendan. I don't think that's
I think the Chargers want him to learn behind Tyrod Taylor. Phillip Rivers is gone, and you build a franchise around a quarterback, and they don't have that right now. And I think Justin Herbert is a playoff quarterback in the future, and I think he fits that Chargers brand. He fits the LA lifestyle, I guess. And I think that's what they're going to plan on doing, having him learn behind Tyrod Taylor for at least a season. Had a great Senior Bowl and combine, and I think that's where we're at with the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft so far. I know, Billy, you haven't had Herbert go anywhere yet, and Will, you haven't had Tua go anywhere yet, but I've got the Chargers going with Herbert. All right. Let's go to number 7 in Carolina. A toss-up here in a lot of mock drafts, obviously, but the Panthers looking at defense here at number 7, Billy.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this pick, guys. Their defense was booty last year, so Derek Brown on the D-line, they got to have him. This is a guy that was tough player in the SEC, caused a lot of trouble in the SEC again last year. I'm not going to spend too much time. Derek Brown to the Panthers for sure.
Big part of that win against Bama. Top 2 needs: defensive line, corner. You're reaching if you're going corner at this point. After Okuda's off the board, there is not another corner going until at least after 15. So I agree, Derek Brown.
An agreement, 3 for 3 on Derek Brown going to Carolina. Number 8, Arizona, needing help on that O-line.
Yeah.
Really.
So we're jumping back into how do you tell the difference between all these options at tackle, guard, everybody you want to assess. Mekhi Becton's an animal. This is a guy that had that Quentin Nelson factor to him. He plays left tackle. He's the kind of guy that would bulldoze people into the ground, pick them back up, and throw them on the side for Louisville. Look up his highlights. This guy was crazy. It's just that kind of pick. It has to be. If you really get enticed with a receiver, I guess, but you just traded for Hopkins. You already have Fitzgerald. You have Christian Kirk. So you're good there. I think the easy pick in a lot of these situations is an offensive tackle, and I'm going Mekhi Becton.
I'm going Mekhi Becton as well. Before that pick, or before that trade you talked about, Bill, everyone had CeeDee Lamb going here, but after that trade, they definitely got to help that line. That line honestly hasn't been good in a long time. The last time that line was good was probably Kurt Warner. I wouldn't even say that line was good when Carson Palmer went to the NFC Championship with the Cardinals. That line struggled that year. So
Let me ask you guys a question real quick. Yeah. I like to pride myself that I keep up pretty good with everything going on NFL-wise, pop culture NFL-wise, like things like that. I swear to you, I've never heard DeAndre Hopkins be called Nuke. I've never heard that nickname before, ever, till he got traded. Everybody's calling him Nuke now. I've never heard of that.
I haven't either.
Yeah, that's a new one for me. I didn't even know he had a nickname, to be honest.
Now everybody calls him Nuke after he got traded.
Called him D-Hop or something like that.
Yeah, I thought it was D-Hop, yeah. I don't know, but
yeah.
Brendan, what do you like here?
I got Jedrick Wills going. Another offensive lineman out of the SEC. You guys mentioned about him going up at number 4 to New York, but Arizona just needs a ton of help. They were 26 in pass blocking last year, which is just god awful. So, and with a young quarterback and Kyler Murray, you got to protect him. He's small, and he was running around for his life last year, I feel like. So
it's a good thing to run.
Very true. Well, let's go to number 9 and Jacksonville. Same position.
I'll stay mixing things up, guys. Justin Herbert goes to the Jaguars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if he's still on the board, I think they're looking for it. I know Will's a Minshew guy, but that's not a viable plan for the future. If they don't get Herbert, I'd like to add I think they're the team to take Jameis and bring Jameis in, but it doesn't seem like if it goes the way I'm saying it does, Justin Herbert to the Jags.
See, I already have Herbert off the board, but it's funny you said that thing about Winston because I was thinking the exact same thing. Jacksonville would be the perfect place for him. But I'm not going quarterback because now that the top 3 are off the board, you won't see another one from me probably till in the 20s. I'm going offensive tackle once again. Tristan Wirfs from Iowa. Their top 3 needs, in my opinion, corner, offensive line, and quarterback. And right here, you get one of the best tackles in college football out of Iowa to fill that offensive line need. You can't reach on a corner here, and Wirfs is a good option at 9.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, Will. Wirfs comes into Jacksonville. He's he's already the best lineman on that team. And yeah, I'm not sure what Jacksonville's doing with the quarterback position. I don't know how long you can go with Minshew. We don't even know if he's a reliable quarterback yet or not. I like you said, Billy, bring in Jameis Winston and see what happens maybe. But yeah, a lot of questions to be asked in Jacksonville only a couple seasons after they went on that playoff run.
Keep Jameis in Florida for sure.
Yeah.
Let's go, guys. Here we go. Pick number 10, our Cleveland Browns on the clock. First pick in the draft for them. What are we doing here in Cleveland?
So first off, for me, I'd like to think the Browns are going to trade out of this. So don't be too upset if that happens, guys. I think
down.
They'll trade down. They like Ezra Cleveland out of Boise State. I've heard that name a lot, and they don't need to be up this far to take him. However, if they're there, sitting there, no trade, Andrew Thomas out of Georgia is my pick. He's the most pro-ready. He is the most ready to go over the next 3 years. He doesn't have the most upside, but he's the most stable guy they can take. Obviously, there's an option for them to get Wirfs at that thing at number 10, but I like Andrew Thomas. I think he's plug and play. And I've heard some conflicting reports about players changing positions. Joe Thomas and John Greco said it's not as easy as TV personalities are saying it is. And that's straight from offensive linemen. So they say a guy like Wirfs can't just slide over and play left tackle, especially if he hasn't played. Well, he hasn't played tackle, but even if Jedrick Wills is still there, guys, I don't like Jedrick Wills going from right tackle to left tackle. Andrew Thomas is the big pick here.
I got Thomas as well. We talked about the needs a little bit: offensive tackle, safety, linebacker. But right here, I am in complete agreement with you, Bill. When you just signed Conklin for right tackle, you got to go left tackle. He's the only one I have left on my board, too, between Wills, Becton, Wirfs, and Thomas, which happens to be perfect for Cleveland. I have Andrew Thomas going 10th to the Browns, and then their line starts to look a lot better. You have Thomas, Batonio, Treader, and Conklin. You have 4 or 5 guys right there that really could provide a lot of protection for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, well, I've actually got Mekhi Becton going here. Biggest, I think he is the big 6 foot 360. He's a giant, and I think he's really what Cleveland needs. Had a great combine and comes from Louisville, which isn't football country, but comes from a program that I think coming here he'll respect winning more, which is what we need to do, obviously. But I like Becton. His size fits well, and he'll fit great on that line. But yeah, Andrew Thomas is a good pick too. And as far as trading here, I think Andrew Berry, it's your first draft as GM. You got number 10. You're sitting pretty. You can take really anyone you want at this point. I don't think any of his guys are going to be gone by number 10. I think just sit tight at 10 and take whoever your top pick is.
Yeah, I could see them doing that big time. Just the idea that they could possibly stay in the first round with maybe San Francisco, maybe Oakland wants to move up here and get the first crack at wide receiver.
Las Vegas.
Maybe they could take Delpit or Queen and maybe Ezra Cleveland. Josh Jones is another name to look at, guys. If you're looking at all their offensive line options, Josh Jones is a guy that they'd be comfortable with. And then I believe it's Andrew Jackson out of USC is probably the third option. So if they don't get a tackle in the top 15, don't panic.
Yeah.
We'll move to pick number 11 here with the New York Jets. And this is where we get into possibly some offensive weapons going off the board.
Yeah, so for me, Brendan, this is where you could get into trouble getting too into a guy that really this decision should be already made a long time ago, which could either help or hurt them. The top 3 big names are Jerry Jeudy out of Alabama, CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma, and Henry Ruggs III out of Alabama. Those are the top 3 right now. So with Ruggs, he's the fastest. He has the most upside. He's your playmaker. But for the Jets, they want their Julio Jones. They want their guy that's going to be their receiver for the next 10 years, whatever. And I think that's Jerry Jeudy. He's been at the top of that wide receiver draft board. It shouldn't have changed from anything. Jerry Judy's your man at number 11.
I say the same thing. You talked about Henry Ruggs, a fast guy. These are the top 4 receivers on the Jets right now. Jamison Crowder, Rashad Perriman, Quincy Enunwa, Josh Doxson. All guys that you could consider deep threats, fast guys. I agree. They need their Julio, their Hopkins, their guy that can go up and get it with the best of them, and that's Jerry Jeudy.
I got CeeDee Lamb going here at number 11. I think he's a perfect fit with Darnold. A lot of flash and swagger coming out of Oklahoma. Kyler Murray made him look really good. He was phenomenal this past year as well. I think he'll fit that Jets offense well, and I think Darnold needs somebody, and I think he can be his number 1 receiver to go to. But yeah, wide receiver, the Jets just need help on that offense, and it was kind of pathetic last year.
Yeah, they might eye O-line if one of those guys drops. If you see maybe Wirfs is still on the board there, like he is, I believe in my mock draft. I'm losing track a little.
They got McGovern and Fant in free agency though, so
yeah, that is true.
They're not set at O-line, but yeah. Well, now we go to number 12, and not the Oakland Raiders anymore, but the Las Vegas Raiders at number 12. And this can get interesting here at the quarterback position with John Gruden.
Yeah, I think they do want to figure out. I still like Derek Carr. I still think Derek Carr is a solid QB. I do want to note here, guys, Denver is really itching to get back in the wide receiver game here, and they don't want to see it go Judy, CeeDee Lamb, and Ruggs, which is how I would have it go. So I think they're worried they'll miss out on one of those three guys. So look for Denver to trade up here. And then there is still going to be a tackle here or somebody to take on the O-line. So either Wills, Wharfs, Becton, one of those guys is still going to be here. So that's an option for Oakland, but no doubt it's going to be CeeDee Lamb.
So Derek Carr, I think he's a solid quarterback as well. There's still a quarterback on my board that didn't go top 10. And he goes here, Tua Tagovailoa, Alabama. I see he's still working on that injury. He comes into a situation in Las Vegas where he won't be able to play for right off the get-go because he's hurt. He's still recovering, and I think it's a chance for him to watch behind Derek Carr, and it kind of creates a quarterback competition as well. Derek Carr knows that if he's not picking his game up, Tua is right there to pick it up for him. And I say Las Vegas sees that Tampa Bay and maybe a team even like Denver, who Drew Lock seems like he's going to be their quarterback, but they may want someone. I see them seeing Tampa Bay and being like, Tua would be the perfect fit behind Tom Brady, so let's take him now. And I go Tua Tagovailoa at 12.
I've got a quarterback going off the board here too, but it's Jordan Love from Utah State. Most underrated quarterback in this draft. Comes from an unknown, untalked about program at Utah State, and I think he's what John Gruden needs. Yes, Derek Carr trying to make it work there with the Raiders, but I don't think Carr has what it takes to make the playoffs, and I think he got to start new here with John Gruden, the quarterback coach, as they like to call him. And I like Jordan Love here going at number 12.
Man, that's bold, Brendan. I like it.
That's what mock drafts are about, man.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to number 13, San Francisco, defending NFC champions, runners-up at the Super Bowl. You said, Billy, you got them taking a wide receiver here.
Yeah, it'd be really tough for me because they would have the option of getting O-line, right? So you would have a lockdown guard or tackle. For me, Tristan Wirfs is still on the board. Man, that'd be a tough back and forth. I'll actually have them take Wirfs right here. They have Deebo Samuel. They still have Kittle. They run the ball more than people think they do. So I like Wirfs. I think you can move him around. He's athletic enough. He was a baseball player. He was shot put. He was discus, and he was football in high school. And then, of course, Iowa is putting out O-line like it's nothing. I like Tristan Wirfs here, actually, Brendan. I'm going to mix it up.
I look at this team, and it's crazy how little needs they have. They're a really solid team. Defense is basically set, and I'm going wide receiver here. CeeDee Lamb, still available in my mock draft. 49ers get a good one. I think instantly becomes a top option for Jimmy Garoppolo. We saw some struggles in the pass game last year. They don't get to the Super Bowl if it weren't for the running game last year, and they would like to incorporate the pass game because they might win the Super Bowl if they have that option. And to add Lamb to, like Bill said, a guy like Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, even if I don't know if this will happen, but if they re-sign Emmanuel Sanders, I think CeeDee Lamb's your man right here.
Sanders is on the Saints.
Oh, did he sign with the Saints?
Yeah. So they did lose a receiver. I think that's a big storyline.
So then that makes it even more of a need. And like I said, they don't have much need. There isn't many needs there for San Francisco, a team that is really, really good and deep. I think wide receiver starts to stand out a little bit because of that.
Yeah, it's surprising to me to see that San Francisco is this high. I mean, they almost ran the table last year. But I got Jerry. This is where I got Jerry Judy going from Alabama. A perfect fit with Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan's offense. Add into that wide receiver depth and replacing Sanders. Here at number 13, going to number 14, Tampa Bay, who made the biggest splash in this offseason so far. They're perfectly fine at quarterback, but who else do they need to take here?
Yeah, guys, I still have Javon Kinlaw in my mock draft. So Javon Kinlaw, the defensive lineman, him and Derek Brown have kind of gone back and forth. It looks like Brown's the best, but Kinlaw's up there. It'll either be they need a pass rusher, so either Kinlaw there or Calevon Chasen from LSU, but I will go Javon Kinlaw because he's still on the board.
I have Kinlaw going here as well at 14, Tampa Bay. And I'm just going to, everything Bill said was right. They need a defensive lineman. But I'm going to refute you, Brendan. I don't think they're set at quarterback. Tom Brady really struggled last year, and he's going to a team with offensive line that's not as good. And, yeah, so 10
Who you got them playing quarterback then?
Well, Tom Brady's their quarterback. But I'm just saying, that was a dumb question, okay? Tom Brady's their quarterback. But I'm just saying I wouldn't say they have the best situation at quarterback.
You made it seem like they were going to play someone else for a second there. But with having Tom Brady, I think this is where I have Andrew Thomas going. I think they feel pressure to protect the veteran quarterback. Thomas obviously out of Georgia, and you guys had going to Cleveland. This is where I have got Thomas going.
See, now he got a little bit better.
Yeah, he did. Pick number 15, Denver. Another wide receiver off the board here, probably.
Yeah, I'll go Henry Ruggs. If he somehow gets there, again, there's a chance it just goes Judy, Lamb, Ruggs, or Lamb, Judy, Ruggs. Yep. Henry Ruggs will be interesting in Denver. I don't know if Drew Lock is the answer. I know a lot of people like him, but more weapons, the better for Drew Lock to look good. So Henry Ruggs, who could be the receiver out of this draft. He's the fastest. He is the most athletic. He just was in one stacked receiving room in Alabama, and he didn't come out the number one. But we'll see on that. Henry Ruggs to the Broncos is not much of a shock in most mock drafts.
Yeah, due to me having Tua go 12 to the Raiders, Ruggs does fall to Denver for me as well. I love Drew Lock's swagger. I think he has the opportunity to be a winner. He has Flacco still there to kind of teach him the ways. The conversation is Flacco elite? No, I wouldn't say he's an elite, but I could say he's probably a good teacher. And I have Ruggs going here as well, teaming up with Sutton. Two great weapons for Drew Lock.
Yeah, I feel like if one of the quarterbacks falls down this far, I think this is where Denver might take a quarterback. But I think we're all on the same page for the first time in a while here. I've got Ruggs going to Denver as well. We now enter the bottom 15. The bottom 16 here in round 1, pick number 16, with Atlanta needing help on defense.
Yep, they'll go C.J. Henderson, the next best corner on the board. Henderson, a pretty good corner out of Florida. I could see him moving up some boards, but I think this is right where he'll be. And I think it's neck and neck who wants him between Dallas and Atlanta. So watch for a trade there, guys, if somebody wants to move up. But C.J. Henderson to the Falcons seems inevitable.
I'm going Xavier McKinney, safety from Alabama. Keanu Neal, some injury struggles going on there. They just need help as a whole at the defensive back. But I'm going McKinney here at 16.
I'm with Billy. I've got Henderson going here from Florida. We'll definitely add depth to that cornerback room in Atlanta. They really struggled on the defensive side last year. Pick number 17, the Cowboys, looking at the line here as well, and because be where we have another LSU guy going.
Yes, sir. You guessed it. I go Christian Fulton, corner out of LSU, another Tiger. It's neck and neck with him and C.J. Henderson, back and forth. Again, these two teams could switch, whatever, but Fulton and Henderson are right there together. Crazy to see the Tigers, man, just chucking out talent in this first round. So they lost Byron Jones, so Dallas really needs a corner here to keep that defense going.
Yeah, I have C.J. Henderson going here, so agree a corner. But since I didn't have him going 16, I have him going 17 to Dallas. They get the guy they want, falls to him at 17, and like you said, they just need secondary help.
Let me ask you a quick question real quick, guys. This is a personal thing for me, in my opinion. I'm not big on safeties. I don't think safeties hold as much value as people think they do. If you have a Minka Fitzpatrick or a Derwin James, sure. And if you really feel like these guys are going to be it, yes. But for me, I don't think safety is the biggest position. And when you take a safety, I think you really run the risk of just completely losing out on other valuable positions. Obviously, the Browns haven't had the best of luck, but I mean, the Browns just fill that position every year. They just find a way. This year they get Carl Joseph and Sendejo. Last year was Morgan Burnett. They just find a safety. I don't know how you guys feel, but teams like the Dolphins and the Cowboys, there's a lot of options here, and they, looks like they're going to go safety, and I don't know about it.
The reason I won't say Xavier McKinney is with Atlanta is if this is why you're bringing it up, is I just see him as not only a really fast guy, but a really strong guy, a safety, one of those safeties that not a James or a Fitzpatrick where you take top three, but definitely a safety that you should see go in the first round. And I don't think Atlanta would miss with him.
You're right, Billy. I mean, safeties, it's not the flashiest position. And I mean, if you can't keep up with a wide receiver, then you're toast. But I do understand where it's coming from. I think that there's still value to it, though. And late in games, if you have to win a ball game and you have to go 50 yards down the field in 20 seconds, that's where safeties could possibly win a ball game. But yeah, you're kind of right on you're hitting the nose a little bit. And by the way, I have another Tiger going at 17, Kayvon Chasen. An edge.
Yeah.
Going to Dallas. Fulton's down the road for me. But we'll go to number 18, Miami's second pick in the first round. This is from Pittsburgh, the trade from Pittsburgh.
So I'll start here. Again, this isn't my pick. This is the pick I think the Dolphins will make. Right, so this is something I think they'll do. They'll take Xavier McKinney out of Alabama. He certainly has upside. Again, I'm not a hater of corners or safeties. I just don't completely see the value. But if you have Byron Jones and Xavier Howard and then Xavier McKinney, that's huge. I also do think it's super ironic when a team trades their pick and immediately they replace that position with a newer, younger guy. So they just traded Minka, and they're just going to replace him with Xavier McKinney, which is kind of funny to me to say we're done with this guy, but immediately just replace him with almost the same position and same style of player. But Xavier McKinney to the Dolphins, I think, is another one that looks like it's going to happen.
I'm going edge rusher Chasen, LST right here. Miami, after quarterback, offensive line, agree, safety, defensive line are the big needs. Running back's a need, but you don't want to address that in this first round. I don't see a running back going in the first round. So I go Chasen here, and they fill a big spot, a big time player to rush the passers of opposing teams. I mean, to get him at 18, I think is a big steal for the Dolphins.
You don't want to be the team that takes a running back in the first round. Trust me.
No, you don't.
We've seen Cleveland do that a few times, and bites us in the butt.
It only worked once.
I think it's this year specifically, guys, that it's like, do not take a running back. Everyone says no running back belongs in this first round. Don't do it. Don't be the team that does it.
And luckily,
like 5 that go.
we're set at quarterback, man. Thank God.
Yeah.
But I've got Kinlaw going here out of South Carolina. Another SEC guy, plenty of talent. Comes from a program that was kind of average. He flew under the radar, kind of overlooked by other players from Alabama or LSU. I think he'll fit well with Miami. Let's go to number 19, Las Vegas again. This pick was from Chicago, and that's just be tough for Las Vegas to have all these picks in the first round, and you were set to host the draft, and now you can't.
Yeah, it was going to be exciting for them to kind of have the spotlight and really show people this is where we are now as Las Vegas. It's definitely going to take some time for people to call them the Las Vegas Raiders. Just because he's still on my board, Kayvon Chasen is going to go to the Raiders. That's a John Gruden style player, tough pass rusher, still quick. In my head, I still see Barkevious Mingo there, so I worry about him. And then if Chasen's not there, which again, guys, some drafts have Kayvon Chasen going, 8 to the Jags, or if not 11 or 13 or somewhere like that. So there's a chance he's not there. This is where the Raiders would also maybe take a linebacker like Kenneth Murray out of Oklahoma, I believe, is another need. But for me, it'd be Kayvon Chasen in my mock draft.
For me, at 19, the Raiders, they didn't get a wide receiver at 12, so they go T. Higgins out of Clemson to kind of fill a hole that they've had ever since they've gotten rid of Amari Cooper.
So we all got different guys going here. I've got Jeff Gladney, cornerback from TCU. Small but plays big. That's what I've heard, and will help that defense for the Raiders immensely. And yeah, I mean, every team needs to improve their defense. I think Las Vegas is one of the ones that has to do it drastically. We go to number 20, the Jaguars again. This pick from the Rams, probably another defensive player here.
Yep, another ironic. You trade a corner to get a first-round pick to take a corner. So the Jags just didn't want to pay Jalen Ramsey anymore. They trade him. I have them taking Jeff Gladney here. So not too much to read into there. They need to start putting that defense back together.
I have corner going as well as Christian Fulton. He slid down my board a little bit, just the fact that, in my opinion, he was the third best player in that secondary at LSU. But right here, Jacksonville still gets a great corner at 20 and fills that hole of Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, Will. Fulton going here, another Tiger. Up and down last season from last year, but he could do no worse than what the Jaguars cornerbacks are doing right now. We'll go to 21, Philadelphia. Needing help on that?
Yeah, the
offense.
Birds need a receiver big time, Brennan. I have them taking it's a split. It's going to be a tough one. There's a lot of receivers that I think could move up and down boards depending on who teams like, but for me, it's Justin Jefferson, another Tiger going here. The Eagles need a safe pick. They don't need a guy that possibly is a bust, can't stay on the field, or can't hang with the rest of their receiving core. Jefferson seems likely, seems like a good pick. I know my board still has T. Higgins on there, but I like Justin Jefferson for the Eagles.
I'm going wide receiver as well, but Justin Jefferson slid down a little bit on my board. I don't like – I agree with what you said, though. He's a safe pick, great receiver. I just see Laviska Shenault from Colorado going here to Philadelphia. He just seems like a wide receiver that fits on the Eagles roster, a bigger receiver, and I think he'd be a good one for the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Billy here. I think Philadelphia, Justin Jefferson, a huge underrated wide receiver, outstanding career at LSU. And if they if Philadelphia is able to figure out that quarterback position, I don't know how much longer Nick Foles has with them. Jefferson will have a huge career. Going to pick 22. The Vikings got this pick from Buffalo. I think this is where we start to get in the draft where a lot of these picks kind of toss-ups because everyone's going off the board that you really want, and so you have to grab whoever's left.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point, Brendan. You have to know the names here, I think, is important. So on my board, T. Higgins is still available. That's who I'm going to have the Vikings take. There's a good chance T. Higgins is already gone, so you need to know the names like Laviska Shenault Jr. from Colorado, who Will already had in his, Jalen Reagor from TCU. Good chance Justin Jefferson is still on the board here. Those are the main guys, I think, for the first round, but you should know those names. I think the Vikings would go nuts if T. Higgins is still available. The Vikings have 2 first-round picks, and they're going to look stupid if they don't get a receiver in a corner. They have to get those positions.
I 100% agree. Receiver and corner are the top 2 picks that Minnesota needs, and after that, I'd say third's probably defensive end maybe, after losing Joseph. But it's a gap. It's quite the gap. You lose Diggs, you need a receiver. Justin Jefferson goes 22nd to Minnesota.
And I've got a corner here going for Minnesota. A.J. Terrell from Clemson. Kind of tall corner.
Yeah. I don't have Terrell in the first round.
I think Mike Zimmer, I think this is a diamond in the rough for the Vikings here. And I think he was underrated at Clemson. He's underrated in this draft. And it's kind of like a Cinderella story here for the Vikings and Terrell. Going to pick number 23, New England. And I've got a guy going that you guys have mentioned before here.
Yeah, so this is a tough one. I don't really know what Bill Belichick thinks their team needs are, but I'll just go defense because that's the kind of coach he is. A.J. Epineza from Iowa, graded as the best defensive lineman. This is about the time of the draft where you should look out for a couple defensive guys to go off here. Epineza from Iowa. Another guy the Browns are interested in, but I think Coach Belichick wants to go defense.
Yeah, I'm going quarterback here. Jordan Love, Utah State.
Real, oh my gosh.
And it's going to shock you guys, but I think New England, they see how solid their defense is. And, yeah, they need receivers, but after Jefferson, Shenault, and Higgins go off in the last 4 picks, you don't really want to reach. And they try to find a guy that might be the next thing. I don't think they take a tight end. That's one of their other needs is a tight end. I don't think they go tight end this early. I don't have a tight end going in the first round. And so I say they go Jordan Love since he's still on the board.
Well, Bill Belichick only wins with guys that were the 199th pick in the drafts, right?
Why would Belichick want to go through one of his final seasons with a rookie QB? I don't know about that.
Belichick's done after this year.
Then why would his last year have a rookie quarterback all year?
He won't. Stidham will start. Love will be there the year after.
Brendan, get him off the screen.
This is McDaniel's pick.
I can't mute. I wish I could mute you, but.
Okay, calm down.
We're drafting Jordan Love to sit Jordan Love for Jared Stidham.
It's McDaniel's pick, okay? We all know it's his team.
He's got a good point there. I think you got a good point there. But I've got the Patriots going with Xavier McKinney here, safety. Well, yeah, I think they definitely go defense here. And you might as well with McCourty and Chung, how old they're getting. But yeah, I think they need McKinney from Alabama. Moving on to pick number 24, New Orleans. They don't need much, I don't think, but I see them going defense.
I'm going to go Jordan Love here, who you guys have both already taken from Utah State. I think they want to get a quarterback in there while Drew Brees is still around. just to have him be mentored and kind of take his time. And then I think they really don't have a ton of needs here, guys. They have a pretty solid team. I think they could go Patrick Queen here, possibly. They need linebacker help a little bit, but they don't have too many holes that they need to fill on that team, especially with adding Emmanuel Sanders, and they already just have everything else pretty well built. I think it'd be a good pick here to go Jordan Love. It's a real Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers situation. You probably have, I want to say 2 years, but I did hear Drew Brees is already talking to ESPN and NBC and all those places, so maybe this is his last year.
After Love, my plans for the Saints is I agree they want a quarterback, but I think they go later rounds, maybe get a guy like Fromm or Hurts or someone like that. But I'm going Kenneth Murray here. You said linebacker help. That's something they do need. Like you said, not a lot of holes, but linebackers, a small hole they do have. And I think Kenneth Murray out of Oklahoma is a linebacker that can fill that hole admirably.
Yeah, I agree. I think New Orleans takes a quarterback at some point. I don't think it's in the first round. I got them taking Patrick Queen from LSU, another linebacker from the Tigers. I think New Orleans, I think they're going to try and just rely on Breeze for one more year to get them to the playoffs and to the Super Bowl. I think they play it safe here at number 24. We go to 25, and Minnesota again, looking to help their offensive line.
Yeah, that is something they do need help on. I'm still thinking they need a corner. I think those are their two biggest needs. They lost Trey Waynes and Xavier Rhodes. I don't know what happened. He has taken some huge steps back. I'm not really sure what the deal is there. I don't think he's still on the Vikings, is he?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna go. I know they lost Trey Waynes, but while Brennan looks that up,
I
know
he's with Indianapolis now.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what happened there. So names we haven't said yet that you're gonna need to know at corner: Trevon Diggs from Alabama, Damon Arnett from Ohio State. We already said Jeff Gladney. Bryce Hall is another guy. So for me, right here, I will go Trevon Diggs from Alabama. He's a guy that, again, I'm confused. I don't know if he's a second or third round guy. Some guys have talked about him that way, that he's not going to go to the second or third round. And some guys have said, yeah, he's a first rounder. I like him. He's an Alabama product. He knows how to work hard and be a part of a system. And I think that's what they want is plug and play. My sleeper here is Bryce Hall. He could possibly go from Virginia. And then I don't know if Damon Arnett's a first rounder. I'm not really sure. I think it'd be crazy if the Lions got Okudah and Damon Arnett coming up. But, yeah, the corner from Alabama, Trevon Diggs.
I haven't had Gladney still on my board, so I go Jeff Gladney here. But everything you said, they need a corner. And we just, after filling wide receiver with Justin Jefferson at 22, there's no better choice than at 25 to go Jeff Gladney and fill your two biggest needs in the first round.
Yeah, Diggs is still on my board for now. I've got them going pass rusher. Yetur Gross-Matos from Penn State, guy that hasn't been talked about from really anyone, but he's an up-and-comer from Penn State. They obviously have a great defense there. Going edge rusher for the Vikings. Going to the final 7 picks here in the draft at number 26, Miami again. This pick from Houston.
Yeah, so you don't want to be the team that takes a running back here. I could see the Dolphins doing it, just reaching, but I'm going to go Josh Jones out of Houston, left tackle for the Dolphins. How ironic is it they're going to trade Laramie Tunsil and then take that pick and draft a tackle? Only thing you do is save money. That's all they're doing. So the Dolphins replace Laramie Tunsil with Josh Jones out of Houston.
I have Josh Jones going here as well out of Houston. It's been 16 picks since the tackle's come off the board, but Josh Jones the next best, and I see him being the last offensive lineman taken in this first round, and Miami fills a hole on the offensive line.
Unanimous at 26. Everyone's taking Jones. Going to 27, Seattle, their first pick in the draft.
Yeah, so Seattle took a defensive lineman last year. I'll have to look the name up. I know they took a defensive lineman. And again, they're another team that might be pressured to get a running back here just because of committee injury last year. But I will have them take Uter Gross Matos, whatever. They need defensive line help, man. That is a huge hole for them, especially with no Clowney. If they don't bring Clowney back, they really need it.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement. If they don't bring Clowney back, I have AJ Epineza still on my board from Iowa, and that's who I have Seattle taking here. Just with the fact that Clowney hasn't re-signed. Obviously, mock drafts change all the time, and if Clowney makes the decision to re-sign before the draft comes around, this pick changes. But right now, with the condition of the team right now, Epineza is the guy going here for me.
I've got Zach Bond from Wisconsin, linebacker. I mean, you're right, guys. Haven't had a great luck with that pass rusher position. They haven't had a lot of luck with Collier. He's going into year 3, I think. But yeah, we got Zach Bond from Wisconsin at linebacker going to Seattle. We go on to 28, and Baltimore trying to solve some issues of why they couldn't stop Tennessee in the playoffs last year.
Really shored up their defensive line with getting Calais Campbell. They still have big Brandon Williams, so the defensive line is okay. Matthew Judon is their lead linebacker, and definitely a good option to add maybe a Kenneth Murray. Patrick Queen again is an option here, but I just think they're going to bolster the offense, guys. They're going to go Denzel Mims, wide receiver out of Baylor.
I'm going Patrick Queen here. You talked about Judon being their top linebacker. This is an opportunity to find or to pick a guy that's fallen to you at 28 who could be the next big linebacker to don the purple and black. You have guys like Ray Lewis. I'm not saying he's going to be Ray Lewis, but you have guys like Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, C.J. Mosley, who looked like a guy that was going to be there his whole career, ended up leaving for New York. But I think Patrick Queen's that next big linebacker that Baltimore takes. He ends up working out well for him.
And I've got linebacker too here, Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma. Middle of the field guy, can spread all over. And had a really solid career at Oklahoma. 6'3", 241. He's big too. We go to pick 29, finishing it out here. Tennessee, their pick at 29.
Yeah, this one is tough for them because I think they might want to go more offense because they did pay for Ryan Tannehill. So the last thing you want to do is say what Jacksonville did is, hey, I bought Blake Bortles for a couple years, but basically I'm going to rely on Leonard Fournette in the defense. I don't think Tennessee wants to do that. They're not going to pay Corey Davis, who was their first-round pick a while back. I just don't think they're going to do it. So I'll go Laviska Shenault Jr. out of Colorado.
I'd say they help their defense out a little bit, go defensive end. They go Uter Gross Matos here out of Penn State. You guys both have him off the board. I say he falls to 29, and the Titans get him.
I've got cornerback here with the Titans, Jalen Johnson from Utah going to Tennessee. Had a really solid career. We saw Utah go to a New Year's Six Bowl last year. I think they lost to Baylor, maybe. But yeah, defense for the Titans there at 29.
Jalen Johnson, another guy I've seen in third-round mock drafts and second-round mock drafts. It's going to be the way it goes. And where we're sitting, guys, Delpit's still on the board. So This is where the Browns will get antsy, and they were going to want to jump in on it and try and make sure they get Delpit if they really like him.
Yeah, I mean, he could definitely fall to that 41st pick down in round 2. Going to pick number 30 is Green Bay here.
Yeah, it's going to be a receiver just from who's left, whoever you want to kind of pick from that bag. Brandon Ayuk maybe from Arizona State. Justin Jefferson and a lot of drafts could still be there. In my personal mock draft, they have to take Jalen Reagor out of TCU.
Agree with Bill. They go wide receiver Jalen Reagor out of TCU.
I've got them taking Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State. Huge threat out there in the slots. Pick number 31, San Francisco. I have them going defense here.
Oh man, they did in my mock so far. They got Wirfs earlier, so they did not get a receiver early, and I think they'd like another one. And I think maybe Ayuk, but man, Delpit's so hard to pass up here, and it would pain me to say it, but I think San Francisco is going to take Grant Delpit.
I think San Francisco. I don't know why I struggled to say that. San Francisco right here. They tried to a guy that was when college football first ended. A guy that was talked about as a top 15 pick has fallen out of some first rounds. Isn't some first rounds, Bill? You know the situation. Some of these guys in multiple rounds, but I say they replace Buckner right here and go Raekwon Davis from Alabama.
And I've got them. This is where I had Trayvon Diggs going, cornerback from Alabama. Stephon Diggs' brother, obviously. I think they just need help on that defense. I had them going defense before. I got them going defense again. And that leaves us with the final pick in round one, the defending Super Bowl champions in Kansas City. And you don't even know if they are going to still be here at 32, but what exactly do the Chiefs need?
They definitely need a corner. I'm not really sure who their corners are as of last year. I don't know.
They lost Fuller. So their best corner right now, Bill, is Charvarius Ward, if you know who that is, because I don't.
Yeah, I'm not even really sure who they won that game with. I can't remember, but so again, names we already said. Jalen Johnson out of Utah is a good pick. Bryce Hall's a good pick. Gladney could still be there in a lot of drafts. I like Damon Arnett out of Ohio State right here. This is a guy, for one reason, he's a playmaker. The Chiefs don't need a solid guy. They need a guy that's somehow going to make some wild play that gets them the ball back. That's what they want. That's what they need. Arnett, this is it. Prove you can do it. He's been paired with Ward. He's been paired with Okudah. Both those guys, despite him being opposite, they outshined him both times. So Damon Arnett will get the chance to be the guy. No injury concerns with him. He's athletic. He's long. When the ball's out there, he plays big. And that's exactly what the Chiefs need. This is a really good pick for them. I would really like this for the Chiefs.
Chiefs in this Super Bowl prove that maybe defense doesn't win ball games. That offense won that game for them. Defense did step up when they needed to. Right now, the only defensive back they have is Tyrann Mathieu. Daniel Sorensen, maybe you can consider him a key player, but I'm going cornerback here as well. Trevon Diggs still on my board as they get a steal at 32, the corner out of Alabama.
And I've just got a shocker here to round out. I've got Jeremy Chin from Southern Illinois.
Okay.
The Valley. But a safety, agreed with the ability. They definitely need help on that defense. What was that?
Chin over Delpit.
Chin over Delpit.
I have heard a lot of good things about Jeremy Chin, and he is a guy that I'm hopeful if the Browns don't get Delpit, they can somehow find a way to get him.
Yeah.
And
that's why I want Delpit on the Browns.
While we're at the end, guys, I think it's just interesting to look at some names that are still on the board. So for me, it's Chin is still there, right? Ezra Cleveland, who is gaining a lot of traction at offensive tackle. Austin Jackson. Epineza. I think Brendan, you still had him on there, right?
Yeah,
he was gone in mine, but I mean, names like that, it really all depends on how these guys are going to go. Bryce Hall's really good at corner, and he's still on the board. And, there's still trades that'll affect things. There's still a lot of things that'll happen. And I think it's another crazy thing, guys, to look at what positions produced 10, close to 10 guys, 5, at some position. That's tackle. We knew was going to be a big deal. Receiver is a really big deal. It looks like you're just going to have your pick of getting a playmaker. Corner is going to produce a couple nice guys. And then defensive end is heavy, but they're going to put guys out that will fill the board. I think it's going to be a crazy draft. And again, I stress to Browns fans, if you don't get your tackle, it's going to be fine. You're going to get somebody. You still have the option to get Trent Williams is still technically on the Redskins, so you'd have to trade for him. And then Jason Peters is a free agent. So, if you were to draft a Josh Jones and he can't start right away, the Browns are going to find options. And that just means they got somebody like Isaiah Simmons. The Browns can't pass on Isaiah Simmons. They need a linebacker in general. And then I really like Derek Brown. I don't know about you guys. If we could get Derek Brown, for me, Ogunjobi's really underwhelming so far. So if we could get Derek Brown in there and then let Ogunjobi walk, I think that's a really big deal for them. So it's going to be a big, big draft for the Browns. And then I don't know how you guys feel that picks are going to go, that it's virtual. I just think teams are going to stay put.
Yeah.
That's the most exciting part about this year's drafts. Just seeing how that plays out, seeing how it's broadcasted on ESPN. Will there be technical difficulties, glitches with the clock, and stuff like that? Yeah. Time lapses are different and stuff like that.
We're gonna booze for when Goodell comes up to this podium.
No booze.
We'll all be booing from our homes, but
big names on my board. AJ Terrell, Jalen Johnson, another big name on my board still. It's gonna be interesting too with this second round, guys. I think it's gonna be a very offensive, weapon heavy second round. No running backs in the first round, but there's some running backs that will be taken in the second round, probably 5, honestly. There's still some wide receivers. You got Claypool. I still have Ayuk, and then Pittman and another one. And then that's when tight ends are going to come into play too. Cole Kmet, Thaddeus Moss. It's going to be offensive weapon heavy second round, I think.
I've got DeAndre Swift as the top running back, and I feel like both of you have that as well. I think he's going to go to Detroit at 35.
I think Dobbins might be the best running back. You got Taylor as well, and Clyde Edwards.
Yeah, I would say I said Taylor's the best running back, so that's going to be interesting to see who, what team wants.
Yeah, isn't that crazy to think you got all these running backs that are just sitting there waiting to get picked?
Tight end. I'm not usually a big believer that tight end is worth a first round pick. I mean, if you just look historically, the best tight end taken in the first round is maybe Vernon Davis.
Yes.
So usually you're not going to get a great first round tight end. So I think it's appropriate. These tight ends are going to fall. For the Browns, guys, I think they might need one. I think this is the last year for Njoku.
What about Hooper, though?
Hooper's a start. He'll be there, but you need 2 tight ends. It's a 2 tight end system. And
Moss would be a good one. Moss, Cole Kmet.
I have concerns about Njoku playing up to a good enough point that he would take a contract with us. I think another team's just going to pay him.
Yeah.
And we already paid Hooper, so it's not like you're going to pay Njoku,
yeah.
who his best year was Baker's rookie year. He had 600 yards and 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, we'll really see how big of a year he has. So, it wouldn't surprise me for the Browns to eye a tight end in round 3.
I was going to say, if they do eye a tight end in round 3, Moss and Kmet are the only 2 I really want them to eye. If those 2 guys aren't there, I think you reconsider.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a huge draft to watch. And obviously, this is going to be the most watched event in April, obviously. Everyone's just thirsty, hungry for something to watch. And this is going to be the event to watch since everything ended, and NFL is going to win out huge with this. I don't think they can go wrong with how it's broadcasted, how it's shown, and the fact that there's all these names that are just sitting there waiting to get into the league makes it even better. So, well, that is your 2020 NFL mock drafts from RSM, and with that, we will wrap things up here, guys. I don't want to mention what I watched last night with the horse challenge. It was a big failure, but I feel like the NFL draft. Well, let's round out with this. Browns releasing their new uniforms on Wednesday. How similar do you think they're going to be to the ones that we had before?
I actually think they're going to be way more. I think it's going to be shocking how simple they are. It looks like they're not going to say Cleveland. They're not going to say Browns. They're just going to be super, super simple, which I think will be good, I guess. I don't know. It'll take time, but I'm under the understanding that if you win, it's a good uniform, and if you lose, it's not.
I say they go back to similar to the old ones. You'll see a few differences. Face masks won't be gray; they'll be brown. Again, what Bill said, I see Cleveland and Browns being left off, and I see them incorporating a little more orange this time.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to just be, we're hyping this up just because there's nothing else going on. That's the only reason. I think there is going to be something above the numbers, whether it's Cleveland or Browns. I feel like that's what every team is doing, and that's what Nike's doing. They have to put something there, and we had something there before. But yeah, I think they definitely dropped the ball on the ones that they released 5 years ago, and it'll be something to talk about and tweet about on Wednesday when they release them. So, guys, final thoughts on the NFL mock draft today.
Just like I said, I do hope Simmons or Brown somehow falls to Cleveland and they can move on from there. I somehow hope if they sit at 10, they get a tackle and then Delpit. And then, guys, I think it's worth mentioning teams only get so many in-person interviews at the Combine, I believe. The Browns chose to use one on Jalen Hurts. So if it gets to be the 4th or 5th round, I don't know what the plan is, but you could kind of take a look at that.
Yeah, my final thoughts are it's going to be exciting. It's going to be something live, like you said, that we haven't seen in a while, and it's going to be fun to watch. And in new news, Christian McCaffrey set to become the highest paid running back at an average of $16 million a year from the Panthers. So just something to end off with as well. Panthers really love him.
Well, that will wrap up episode 2 of Full Timeout with COVID-19 NFL Mock Draft Edition. We're all excited for the draft. We're all excited to just watch something live. Just over a week away, next Thursday on ESPN. Go check out the Dynamo page from Raider Student Media. Check out everything that is on Studio M, and don't forget to tune in to 91.1 WRMU all week long when you've got nothing to do at home. So that'll wrap up our episode here today. From Billy Beebe, Will Brianza, I'm Brendan Devini. Stay safe, wash your hands, and have a great day, everybody.